as we travel from Philadelphia on down to our next stop on the tour, which is Washington, D.C. This is our grand finale, the climax, arriving at Union Station. It only takes about 2 hours to go from Philadelphia to Washington by train. Washington, D.C. is not only our political capital, it's one of the great cultural centers of the world. It's a lot more than just a collection of monumental buildings and statues. Washington is a city of fine arts, incredible architecture, great food, interesting walks, fascinating neighborhoods. All in all, it makes a terrific place to visit. And we're going to take you there in today's World Traveler. This is Dennis Callan for Hawaii Geographic Society, bringing you to our nation's capital. It's part of our tour of the East Coast. And on this trip, we stay in Washington for 4 nights. There's that much to do and see. And one of the great attractions of the city is the museums on the mall. The Air and Space Museum, the Smithsonian, the art galleries, the history museums. It's just the greatest collection of museums that you can find any place in the world. This is Dennis Callan for the Hawaii Geographic Society, taking you to Washington, D.C. in the fall. And there's a fall foliage, spectacular blaze of color. The Vietnam Memorial is even more beautiful with this backdrop of orange and red and yellow leaves on the trees. There couldn't possibly be a better time of year to be enjoying Washington and its great monuments than in October, and we're going to take you there and show you the Jefferson Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument, of course, always towers over the city, the eternal flame at the grave of Kennedy in Arlington, the National Cemetery across the river. Downtown Washington is really quite a lively place. Many visitors don't even get to see the real downtown Washington, but it's a thriving, pulsating city. Our hotel, the Holiday Inn, is located just 1 block from the mall. With our Hawaii Geographic Society tours, no matter whether we're in America or in Europe, we always choose hotels that are centrally located so that we can easily walk from the hotel to the different attractions rather than having to rely upon a bus to get us there. The friendly squirrels here are always looking for a handout. A modern bronze statue, part of an outdoor exhibit by a Latin sculptor, Botero. And of course, another great landmark in the city is the White House. It was originally designed by an Irish architect in the style of an Irish country estate. The Supreme Court looks like a Greek temple, one of the many neoclassical buildings in town. It's very informal and casual here in Washington, D.C. The old post office was completed in 1899 in this really old-fashioned Romanesque style of rugged architecture. Now there's a wonderful observation tower. You can go up this free elevator ride to the top and get a great view looking out over the city. Plus there's a terrific food court in the main ground floor. And like most of the attractions in Washington, the elevator ride is free and it gives you a great view of the internal courtyard, as well as tremendous views all around the center of Washington, D.C. Capitol building and a zoom out Pennsylvania Avenue. This gives you as good a view as you get from the Washington Monument, and there's usually no line waiting to get up inside the old post office tower, so it's a great spot to come. And while you're here, you can have lunch, because on the main levels there's 3 floors of fast food. It's a tremendous food court, rivaled only by the other interesting food court over at Union Station. So the old post office is really a good spot to come and visit. You can also buy souvenirs here and do some people watching, grab some ice cream for dessert, sit down anywhere inside in the vast courtyard. One of the newest buildings in Washington is the Ronald Reagan Building. It's located right in the Federal Triangle, which is a large collection of neoclassical buildings. This one is built in the very modern style. It's a sweet political irony that one of the largest new buildings loaded with federal workers is named after the president who wanted to cut back on the size and spending of the government. Nearby you will find Chinatown, so what better place to eat? Let's go take a stroll, and sure enough we quickly find a good-looking Chinese restaurant and have another spectacular feast with our Hawaii group. Always nice to stock up on the rice again when you're on the road, and Chinese restaurants can be always counted to come through. Breakfast at the hotel is quite the buffet. Scrambled eggs, bacon, toast and coffee, along with fruit juice and fruits and melons and rolls and croissants. And after that fabulous breakfast, we took a stroll over to another nearby museum, the Renwick Gallery. It's just next to the Executive Office Building. This is where the Vice President has his main headquarters, as well as offices for the Cabinet of the President. So this is a very important and very large building. It's constructed in an architectural style that's called the Second Empire. And indeed, it's the finest surviving example of the Second Empire style in America today. It was completed in 1888. And at that time it was Washington's largest and most lavish office building, with over 550 rooms and nearly 2 miles of corridor, with amazing attention to detail, as you see here in the Indian Treaty Room. The original occupants moved out, the Navy Department moved in. After World War I, the War Department was in here, the State Department was in here in 1947. And then later the office of the president took over the entire building for his administrative staffs. It was threatened with demolition earlier in this century, but then during the 1960s and later in the 1980s, a large-scale restoration project refurbished the entire interior and exterior of the building. And now it's regained its glory as one of the great landmarks of the Second Empire in America. The day is done. We have 4 days on our tour in Washington as part of our East Coast tour. 4 days and nights to enjoy the city. So at the end of this day, we're going to ride the metro, and we'll show you how to do it. You put your money in the slot, you select the value of the card, and out it comes. You have to have a metro card to ride on the underground subway train. You can't just put money in the turnstile, and there's no person that you can give money to at a booth. It has to be done by the machine. So you just put your dollar bills in there, out comes your fare card, and this card can be good for 10 rides or as many rides as you select when you're buying the card at the machine. The system is very easy to use, and it's a great way to get around town. Our hotel is located right next to L'Enfant Metro Station, so that's very convenient. And it's going to take us directly to one of the great activities that you can enjoy when you're in Washington, and that is shopping. Shopping at the Fashion Center at Pentagon City. This is one of the nicest shopping malls that you'll ever see. It's like a little village all clustered together. It's really a cozy spot, and yet there's 150 different stores here in this beautiful atrium style of design. You've got multi-level shopping mall, and it's all wrapped around one central courtyard with elevators and escalators to get you from one level to the next. It's really one of the most brilliant designs of shopping mall that I've ever seen in all of our travels. And the diversity of shops here is really quite fascinating. You find a lot of offbeat and obscure stores that you don't run into in a normal mall or in a typical downtown. So it's really lots of fun. And of course there's a food court down in the middle, so you can eat and shop at the same time.